Presentation documents, please access Board Docs. The link to the Board Docs website can be found via D38 website, www.lewispalmer.org, on the Board of Education Meetings webpage. To view the live stream video of this meeting, please go to the Lewis Palmer School District 38 YouTube page, or it's youtube.com, user/LP School District Community. Tiffany, would you be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Oh, sorry, you're right. No, that's okay. It's right here, highlighted. Ms. Wood, would you call the roll?
Mr. Clausen. Here. Ms. Phillips.
Here.
Mr. Schwartz.
Here.
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 Should we try it again now?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Comments, questions? Hearing none. Ms. Wood?
Mr. Clausen. Aye. Ms. Phillips.
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz.
Aye.
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 Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to convene an executive session in accordance with CRS 24-6-402, Subpart 4, Subpart F, Subpart I, to discuss the superintendent's evaluation and contract.
Second.
Questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none. Ms. Wood?
Mr. Clausen. Aye. Ms. Phillips.
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz.
Aye.
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 So the board will invite Dr. Casey Summers to join us in executive session in the superintendent's office,
We'll go to the Strawn conference.
the Strawn conference room. Following the executive session, the board members will reconvene in open session, and the meeting will continue at 6 p.m. with public hearing regarding the proposed 2021-2022 school district budget.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Stand by.
Okay.
Okay, so we will now continue with our regular meeting, and our item is, looks like C1. It's a budget overview. Dr. Summers and our soon-to-be former Chief Financial Officer, Shauna Seeley, will present an overview of the 21-22 budget, including any explanation of any revisions to the preliminary budget that was presented at May 17th, 2021 Board of Education meeting. Dr. Summers?
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Ms. Seeley, I have her on speakerphone. Can you say hello, Ms. Seeley?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Your voice is in the room. So I've got the presentation, brief as it is, in front of us. So Ms. Seeley, I will let you take it from slide 2.
All right, perfect. Okay, so you will see a comparison from last month's presentation with those original numbers for each of those line items as compared to the updated numbers right there on one slide. And on the next slide, we will kind of explain those differences. And we can kind of toggle back and forth if you would like to see those major changes. But actually, we were able to come out a little bit better than we were anticipating even a month ago. So if you go to the next slide, total revenue was an increase of $445,000 from the May 17th draft, and that's due to a PPOR change from $8,429 to $8,501. And again, that's for each full-time student. And then general fund expenditures, we actually had a decrease in those of about $9,000, and those were just refining some of the budget line items. MA's allocation was an increase of about $1,300, and that was due to the PPOR change. And we had an increase in the transfer to transportation of $6,000, and that was due to a software price increase that I was notified of by Mr. Foster. So any questions on those specific line items before we get into the more detailed additional transfers?
Comments or questions? Teresa, anything?
No, I don't have any questions. Thanks.
Okay, let's continue then.
All righty. Okay, so on that slide 4, you will see additional transfers for one-time expenditures. That $580,000 number for food services is the same as it was a month ago with the original budget draft. And again, this is a worst-case projection. We do believe we're going to come in much better than that. But given the COVID changes that we're seeing this last year, we want to err on the side of caution. And then the capital reserve transfer is an increase of just over $800,000 from the original draft.
Shannon?
And you can see those line items there showing what that $3.4 million is, and that each of those items is a one-time budget expenditure.
Shannon, I think we have a question.
Oh, yep.
Just a point of clarification on the food services, this $580,000. As I understand that, that occurred because during the COVID year, we were unable to sell anything in the food services, and this was essentially what in prior years there was some revenue associated with it that just didn't happen during COVID. And this budget that we have in front of us today, when you say it's worst case, you're somewhat assuming that we're going to be in the same situation as we were during the COVID year, but that's just worst case, right?
Yeah, so basically, based on the presentation from May, food services was self-sustaining since 2009 until this current year, and we were unable to sell a la carte items because of COVID. And so therefore we saw this food service fund be negatively affected, and therefore we are looking ahead as if worst case scenario, we are not allowed to sell a la carte items. I don't believe that that will be the case. However, we just don't know, and so we want to be ultra conservative.
Understood. So in theory, assuming we have a normal year in front of us and we get back to where food services are self-sustaining, this is cushion from a expense side.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments on that one item? Thank you, Shauna.
Yep.
I have a question. Where it says subject to change with the Palmer Ridge High School geothermal, when will we have firm?
When will that be finalized?
Yep.
It's a good question. Right now, the price of steel is making it very difficult. Bob, is that a 2 that you're holding up? So we're hoping in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
And the capital reserve transfer, everything on that list are one-time expenditures that are either deferred maintenance and or in the case of the Schneider, it's a larger contribution from Lewis Palmer School District for approximately $9 or $12 million deferred maintenance
That's correct.
program.
Yes.
Okay. Questions or comments on this so far?
So I think if there's none, Ms. Seeley, that was the extent of our update, including the revisions from the draft budget presented back in May. So at this
Correct.
point, Mr.
Yep.
Taylor, we can turn it back over to you, and I know we have room for additional public comment if it's there.
And Shauna, before you hang up, thank you very much. I know that, long distance is difficult, but I've noticed and appreciated your involvement and seeing this through. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I've enjoyed doing it. So, and I think I'll be back a little bit later tonight for the FP&A section.
Perfect.
All right, Shannon, I'll call you back when we get there.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks.
So now we have a public comments regarding the 2021-22 district budget. This public hearing has been advertised according to state statute via multiple communication outlets. In addition, the proposed 2021-2022 budget document has been available for public review at the D38 Administration Building as well as online on the D38 Financial Transparency webpage. I have right now 2 people who have signed up to make comments regarding this, and each individual should come up to the mic and try and contain your comments to within 3 minutes if possible. So we'll start with Tom Patrick.
Hi, I'm Tom Patrick, 200 Pinecrest Way, Palmer Lake, and I'm a teacher at Palmer Ridge High School. And tonight, I'd like to address the teacher salary portion of the certificated staff portion of the budget. I think we can all agree that the single most important factor impacting our children's educational experience is the quality of the teachers in their classrooms. Therefore, in order to recruit, reward, and retain the very best teachers in the state, the budget must prioritize its salary increase, which accomplishes this. This budget falls far short in that regard. Coming off of a pay freeze last year and after surviving the challenges and demands of the pandemic, the proposed salary increase of a $500 step plus 1.1% is grossly woefully inadequate. Colleagues in surrounding districts are receiving increases much higher than ours. 6% in D20, 6% plus $2,500 bonus at TCA, 6% in Harrison, and they also received 6% last year while we were frozen, and 4% in Douglas County. D38, an entry-level teacher hired 2 years ago with a starting salary of $35,471, will receive an increase of just $890 or $74 a month. Our para contribution is going up by 0.5%. A veteran teacher such as myself will receive a net increase of 1.3%. This is 1.3% after 2 years, while the consumer price index has risen 5% over the last year alone, and local property taxes are going up by about 20%. It's not a pay raise. Teachers are getting left further behind in the struggle to keep up with the cost of living. The proposed increases incentivize certificate staff to leave D38 for better pay elsewhere. At Palmer Ridge, we've lost numerous teachers, with 2 in just the last 3 weeks going to D20, where they will earn significantly higher salaries. At the very least, we should receive a restoration of the $500 step lost in 2021, the $500 step for 21-22, and a percentage increase of 5% or more to make any progress toward competitive compensation in order to attract and retain great teachers. Lewis Palmer School District has had a reputation for academic excellence. Unfortunately, we are gaining notoriety as one of the poorest paying districts on the Front Range, if not the entire state. You must act now to fairly and competitively compensate certificated staff in the 21-22 budget. Waiting for the October counts to come in or taking time to study the problem is not good enough. Our children deserve the very best education provided by the very best teachers we can give them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next individual is Leia Phillips.
Good evening. My name is Leia Phillips. I live at 2620 Spats Road in Monument. I also am a teacher currently at Palmer Ridge. My family and I moved here 21 years ago. We were moving to the Colorado Springs area, and primarily we moved to Monument because of the school district and its reputation. I had the privilege of being able to sit down with our superintendent recently, and I really wanted an opportunity to address the board about some concerns that I have as a community member, as a former parent, and as a teacher. So to give you a little background, I taught part-time at Monument Academy. I subbed at the middle school and both the high schools, and I've worked for 11 years at Palmer Ridge. And all of my kids have gone to D38 schools. All of them have had a spectacular education, and all of them keep in touch with at least one of their teachers. And I remember my daughter saying in college, she was talking about going home and to visit a teacher, and her roommate was like, why? But it's because, you know, the relationships built have been invaluable because it's more than just academics. And I have notes because after 50, you can't retain all this at one time. But we're having issues, as Tom just alluded to, in my department, which is the math department, and I'm the department chair. We have recently had more turnover than usual, and it is because of the compensation. We can't get people because we don't have a bargaining chip. We can't retain people. And just to put some numbers to that for you without names, we recently hired somebody from up north who, because she's experienced, is taking a $25,000+ pay cut to come and teach in our school because they live closer to here. That's a huge financial decision to make. And then we recently lost somebody to a neighboring district who's going to make, I think, $8,000 more. And her reasoning for leaving wasn't just the money, it was a trust issue, and that's what concerns me the most. In the 20 years that we've lived here, I can't tell you how many times with the turnover in, you know, the board and administration, there's been lip service to pay, but there's not action. And so after a while, the people who stick around, they kind of have the attitude of, well, there they go again. And I know that this board wants to do this and wants to do the right thing. And I'm just here to represent the teachers that want to help. Like, how can we help you? Can we have a conversation? Can you help us understand the budget? Because the CDE website isn't helpful. It tries to categorize, well, this money must go here, this money must go there. And when we look at it and we see some of the discrepancies between our district and other districts, all it does is further just an idea of distrust. And I would really like to be a part of the solution, not just complain. You know, where your money is where your heart is. So we would like to know that your heart is in it and that we're valued in D38 as much as we would be valued on either side of the freeway here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any others that didn't get a chance to sign up? Please. And state your name, please.
My name's Stephen Phillips. That's my wife. Like she said, we have lived in this district for 21 years, and we appreciate the valuable asset of education that our children got here. I'm a business owner, and I don't mean this to sound condescending, so please don't take it this way. But this is a supply and demand issue. Demand is up, supply is down. In 2017, this was considered a crisis situation, how few teachers were graduating in Colorado. The numbers are even lower now, and it was called a crisis in 2017. It was called a crisis in 2018, 2019. The only way, I have a young man that works for me who is making $11,000 more now than he did a year ago. Because in my industry, supply is down and demand is up. And the only way that I'm going to be able to retain key people who are experienced, who bring the value that I need to our company, is to compensate them accordingly. I would encourage you, please, realize that in Colorado, we're really like the nation. Supply is down, demand is up. The only way that we're going to draw the people that we need for this district is to compensate them accordingly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone? All right. Thank you very much for your comments. They're much appreciated. The next item that we have on our agenda is D1. This is some student recognition, and I'd like to invite Coach Bradley to introduce and represent the Palmer Ridge High School Volleyball State Championship team.
Adjust this a little bit. My name is Erica Bradley, head coach for Palmer Ridge volleyball team. This is my first season coaching these girls, and it's been a huge blessing to be able to work with such hardworking individuals. I am going to call these girls up. Although we don't have our entire team, we do have the majority. We have Madison Wilson, Gigi German, Eva La Rochelle, Anna McWhorter, Emily Klain, Madeline Davis, Corey Anderson, Riley Anderson, Lila Reed, and my assistant coach, Scott Bradley. Aside from bringing home our first state championship to Palmer Ridge, I think most of all, us coaches are pretty excited and proud of how these girls just responded to what a weird and unfamiliar year that 2020 was, 2021, with new expectations. A lot of adversity, but obviously bringing home a state title just shows you how hard these girls have worked to be here and how hungry they were to achieve those goals. So. Thank you for having us this evening.
Thank you. Arata, I think.
Is Coach Arata here? Thank you. Could you? This is Dahlia Allen, who won a 5A women's diving championship, and Coach Arata will go ahead and introduce her.
I'm not sure if I can talk with people at my back, so I'm going to just stand over here. Now I can see everybody. I've been coaching for probably 24 seasons. I know the guys and girls, so it's been a while. Dahlia, you have what hair? Did you just come from dive practice? Yeah. This is the first time in all this time. I think we put like 30 divers in Division I over that time. And this is actually the first time that we've had a 5A state champion in the group. So that's a big, big accomplishment for Dahlia. It was a very strange year, very difficult. In my setup, when they come into practice on the very first day and everything, I start trying to correct all these little issues that I see. I'm a perfectionist in a sport that rewards perfection, but you never actually attain it. Is that what you say? Yeah. So I was trying to make all these corrections to Dahlia and the rest of our team, and we got to the first Thursday of the week, and I said, oh yeah, we have 7 weeks until state. Normally it's 13 at that point in time, and we usually about week 7 it's kind of bad for the divers. They kind of are in a tough place. They've been working hard, and then they get better as they go along. And I'm thinking, boy, if we're in that tough place come the state meet, that's not going to be very good. Luckily, we were able to work really smartly this year, and Dahlia made a lot of little changes that made a really, really big difference at the state meet. And she led pretty much from start to finish, and had the best dives of anybody there in a number of different dives that she did. The officials were all coming over afterwards saying how great she was, and the other coaches were too. You didn't hear all that, but it's true. Here's the thing is that I just think that despite the fact that she's a 5A state champion, there's so much more still there, and we did have a diver make it to the NCAAs the last couple of years, and I think that Dahlia is better. So that's something pretty spectacular. And anyway, your 5A state champion, Dahlia Allen.
Coach Arata, you did mention she's only a junior, right? Yeah. Thank you very much. Mr. Rick Frampton, could you join us here? You're going to be introducing Dr. Stephanie Johnson, who was selected as the 2021 Distinguished Administrator in support of culturally and linguistically diverse learners.
Yes, thank you. And I've got a couple teammates, Amy Gamble and Laurel Bumpus, joining me in this incredible honor. The 2021 Distinguished Administrator in support of culturally and linguistically diverse learners. Those of you who remember last month's meeting when we announced that Stephanie was retiring, this is just insult to injury because we are losing absolutely one of the most talented administrators I've ever worked with. And this is just one more reminder on what we're losing, but it's also just a great example, and it basically summarizes everything you've done for us, and it's absolutely well-deserved. You want to say something?
I'm too short for this as well. So. I'm just so grateful to work with such wonderful people, so thankful. And especially for Stephanie Johnson. A school district is kind of a microcosm of a lot of different people from a lot of different talent areas, areas of strength, areas of knowledge, areas of interest. And the wonderful thing about Stephanie is that she learns that about people in her department and empowers us to be able to use those in our jobs. And she does so much behind the scenes to make our EL program so good that we thought it was high time that you got credit for that. So thank you. I'm going to miss you.
I worked with Stephanie for the last 4 years in the EL program, and I have just been amazed at everything that I have learned from her. And I still, even in the 4th year, I'm ding-donging her with questions all the time. And she so calmly answers them and repeats herself, I'm sure. And she does beyond. She does panels at the TESOL convention. She does teaches college classes. She knows all of our little ones up to our high school kids. She goes to their houses to deliver things. She hosts Oktoberfest at her house. We're going to miss that one. And there's, okay, good. And I mean, there's just so much. When we were writing out the application, it was just so many things we had to document of what she does, and humble and just a great person, a friend. So we're gonna keep in touch with her. So.
Thank you very much. Dr. Lori Benton, another word I hate to use again, but former D38 Chief Academic Officer, will introduce staff members responsible for leading our summer school program.
I think I'm still on the clock, Chris.
Well, I know, but soon to be former or former, either way.
All right, so I couldn't quite, this is the shirt. I need Pam Kern to come on up. So Pam Kern is actually going to be the Learning Services Coordinator, and she's already transitioning into that role. And she helped design this T-shirt, and if I thought I'd pass it around. This is what all the kids in the elementary program are actually sporting. And she designed a program, she and Kristen Iatro. Kristen could not be here tonight, otherwise we'd be also recognizing her, for about 200 students. And Stephanie Johnson, who's also in the audience, also helped design it as well. She's kind of, she does everything. And we need her knowledge. So Pam has spent many hours helping put together a program, everything from hiring all of the staff. Are we at 30 staff? Yeah. And designing interactive experiences, hands-on learning. We've got some great pictures on our social media. And the really cool piece of this is it's the first time we've been able to come together from all parts of learning services, student services, and special education services to be able to provide a learning environment for all kids. And that's the coolest piece of this whole thing. So kudos to Pam and Kristen and Stephanie and Rick. Rick was also part of the party. And it's been a wonderful opportunity for us to learn how we can all work together and make a really cool experience for kids in the summer. So thank you. So that's why she's here tonight, to say thank you. And now I'm going to have Amy Sinkowski come up. So we thought, why not? Why not do K-8? If we're going to do it, go big or go home. So Amy Sinkowski, currently assistant principal at Lewis Palmer Middle School, helped design the middle school program in combination with Stephanie and with Kristen. And Amy, it was the first time we've done a massive endeavor that's been this long. It's 3 weeks. And we're serving about 40 students. And when you think about it's just 7th and 8th grade students, that's a pretty good number of kids to be able to extend their school year by 3 whole weeks. And also with an interactive camp-like feel and component. So I wanted to say kudos to Amy and thank you for your work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Benton. So our next agenda item is D5, public comments. Did we have any emails to be read? And I have one person who's signed up. Who's Tiffany?
Per board policy BEDH, public participation at school board meetings, there's one time for public comment and it is limited to 30 minutes. In an effort to allow all who wish to speak, the amount of time dedicated to each speaker will be dependent on the number of people who sign up, with the entire public comment period not exceeding 30 minutes. If 10 people or fewer sign up, each person will have 3 minutes to address the board. The board respects the rights of the public to speak on matters concerning the operation of the schools. We believe public comments that are critical of district staff, however, often cause unnecessary harm to those employees and to the education of the students. As a result, we prefer that members of the public share any criticisms of employees in writing with the superintendent, who is responsible for supervising all staff and then involving the board as necessary. If you choose instead to address a personnel issue publicly, Please understand that the board does not endorse the comments of any speaker and reminds all who speak that they assume the risk of legal action by district employees in the event that the affected employees believe that any comments about them violate legal standards. Lastly, please keep in mind we may have K-12 students in the audience. Please keep all comments appropriate to our audience.
Thank you, Ms. Upchurch. I have Janelle Allen. Oh. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I'd like to have heard from her. And she wanted to talk about sports, by the way. Anyone else that didn't get a chance to sign up? All right, seeing none, then D6, board member comments. Tonight I'd like to start at the far right with Matt Clausen, and we'll work towards me, and then Teresa will be after Tiffany.
I want to recognize Lance McCorkle, one of our assistant principals in Palmer Ridge. Mr. McCorkle was instrumental in putting together the coaching staff that the volleyball team. So behind every great organization is a great leader. Mr. McCorkle does a great job there. Appreciate the comments from our teachers. We love our teachers. I've had the privilege of serving on this board nearly 5.5 years, over 3.5 of those years as board president. And one of the challenges that we've always faced is how we compensate our teachers more. We hear you. And we're open to any dialogue with you or anyone else. But one of the challenges that we have is we're one of the highest performing districts in the state. And as far as our CPR, we're one of the lowest. So I agree, we need to figure out how to bridge the gap, and we're all ears, and we try to think outside of our box, but if you have any suggestions on what we can do to bridge that gap, once again, contact each one of us, because the bottom line is everyone sitting at this table supports you 100%, and for opportunities to do more, what can be done. Also want to congratulate everyone that we recognize this evening for various recognitions. Also want to congratulate both Ms. Upchurch and Mr. Taylor on their desire to run for re-election in the fall. Congratulations on that. I appreciate the service that you've rendered to the board so far. And Mr. Taylor, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Matt. Ron?
No comments this evening, thank you.
Wait a minute, I got to take that in.
No comments this evening, thank you. You get a night off.
Ron, I always appreciate your comments because you really do share things that are a little unusual but really pertinent. So,
Thank you for calling me unusual, Mr. Taylor.
in a good way. Ms. Upchurch.
Oh, okay. So I want to personally acknowledge all the heartfelt advocacy and perspectives and ideas and the involvement, and I value and appreciate your input and thoughts. I also acknowledge that we must work on finding ways to be more competitive with our compensation. And I've heard from all of our fellow board members, and I think you guys all know where my heart stands, that I think we can do better, and I want us to do better. I came across a quote as I was preparing my students' own graduation, and it resonated with me, and it read, "I don't fear failure, I fear succeeding at something that doesn't matter." Our students and our staff in this school district matter, and that's why we do what we do. While I was at a staff meeting at Lewis Palmer Elementary School earlier in the end of the school year, they created an award in honor of an extraordinary educator, Mrs. Sosha. And Mrs. Sosha has almost 50 years with us between teaching and substitute teaching. And the first winner of that award this year was Mrs. Kern. And I wanted to congratulate her, but she already walked out. But it's those moments like that that matter. When I ran for this position 4 years ago, I said that I truly think that every child is gifted in his or her own way. That starts out like a diamond in the rough. And as parents, teachers, and community members, it's our job to help each and every child find their shine. Therefore, our kids must be our first priority. And I said that I think we should work to reach and teach each unique child right where they are, and that they should learn in a safe and secure environment. And that hasn't changed. I respect the rights of parents to play key roles in their education, and I honor that competition. And I also honor and respect the need for great teachers in this great school district. So those values still hold true. So thank you for sharing your perspectives. I believe we have accomplished much, and we've overcome much, and I still feel called with a heart to serve, so thank you, Mr. Clausen. As a parent, I value the collaborative partnership between our teachers and our parents from cradle to graduation. And teaching is a talent, and we are witness and forever grateful to the inherent compassion and connection to the diverse learners we have here in D38 from our teachers. When my husband and I chose to enroll our children in D38, we did so after looking around at the districts in our surrounding area, and we personally found that the way each child is respected and acknowledged as a new, unique individual, and the resources needed to ensure that they had success, that they had access to stellar education, and the talent of the teachers, the welcoming and warm school communities, the value put into investing in each of our students, and the resources that put into investing in each of our students, such as ours. All of those kids are absolutely worth it, and that's why we chose this district. And each child is unique and special, and different, and not better, not worse, just purely different learners. And that means in order for my child to receive an equal education, there's a balance of equity for special services, gifted and talented accommodations, and various opportunities. And we love that we have the choice and we have competition. Not every student should be the exact same clarinet player or have the same math class or science project or sports offering. So I think we're blessed in this school district that we do have great choices. For example, we have 3 exceptional high schools. We have Lewis Palmer High School, we have Palmer Ridge High School, we have Monument Academy High School. We have all these great options for families, and regardless of where people's children and grandchildren attended, I applaud the parents, the staff, the students on pushing forward, onward, and upward. And I'm not going to lie, it was a tough year. There was a lot that I truly disliked, but I appreciated the grace and the grit. And I've heard very few say they loved it. But I'm hopeful that the last year and a half taught us some lessons, and that we can each take a step back, breathe, enjoy the warm summer days, and hopefully a much needed rest and respite with loved ones, and that we can start in August by seeing each other's kind smiles, sharing hugs, and attending events and field trips. And I also lastly want to share my appreciation for every board member sitting here and for Dr. Summers. All of us care deeply about our students and our staff and our community, and we all sit here with a heart to serve, with a goal of leaving this district in a better place than we found it. And I appreciate that we share those goals, and that we respectfully listen and advocate various means on achieving those goals. So thank you, and have a great summer.
Thank you, Ms. Upchurch. Teresa.
Mr. Taylor, I don't have any comments this evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you, you and Ron. I appreciate all of the board member comments, and not just tonight, but always. I do appreciate your thoughtfulness, your precision to things that matter, and your commitment to serve. It's not an easy job to serve. You give up your time and talent, and you do it for the right reasons, and I appreciate being a part of this board. I would like to just briefly address the issue of staff compensation. So Dr. Summers has now been here 2 years, and it feels like 5 because of COVID, but it's just been 2 years. And he has helped us as a board with his administration, and that includes principals, put together a comprehensive strategic plan. Now, it's high level. We haven't drilled deep enough, but we will. Shauna Seeley's been here a year or so, but unfortunately had to move. So we're going to have a new CFO, Kitty Overton. We're going to have a new assistant superintendent, Amber Wetstein. Wetstein, a new Chief of Human Resources, Kristen Stieber. These folks are going to meet with the board in early August, and we're going to talk about the comprehensive strategic plan. And we're going to sharpen the pencils and go through the budget again and again and again until you each will know. One thing I've appreciated about Dr. Summers is his collaborative process, not just with his direct reports, but with the principals and their direct reports. And as we go through the next phase of detailing the comprehensive strategic plan, you will know what's in that, and you will have a chance to participate. We want your voice. We need your voice. And I love the fact that people moved here because of this school district. My wife and I did so 21 years ago also, and she taught for a number of years. And we love this community. And I believe that if we present a comprehensive strategic plan that really does address all issues, and when 75% plus of your budget is in salary already, that means teachers. And if we put this together the proper way and look at those differences that Matt Clausen alluded to about the difference in the PPOR, et cetera, I mean, there's a lot of factors, and we'll bring all those factors to light so that we know exactly why we are where we are and what we can do about it. And I think there's going to be more than one option. And as we get there, I can't wait to see your voices included in that process. So I wanted to say that because, I love teachers. In fact, I'm married to one. And, I hear her voice a lot. Whenever I have something to question, I usually go to Holly and say, well, what do you think about this? And she gives me good insight. Dr. Summers, it's been a pleasure to, serve with you for these 2 years, and I appreciate, as much as anything, how you've gotten your entire staff to support the board to do the right things. And it feels good when we're trying to do the right things and we're not there. I don't know that we'll ever get where we need to be, but we are on a good path to a better future. And I'm grateful for that. And Dr. Summers, I appreciate your leadership, your guidance, your flexibility, your communication skills, and your commitment to every one of those children that Miss Upchurch talks about. I would just like to end my comments tonight with just my expression of gratitude for the opportunity I've had to actually serve on this Board of Education for almost 4 years. I've learned a lot, and I've come to appreciate that within the complexity of a public school system, there is pure intent on most people's part. And I've come to appreciate that I can talk to many people with different views, and yet when you spend the time and listen and learn, what I've learned is that generally people have similar goals. We are not as diverse a community as some would like to make us think. We really do have similar goals and aspirations for our families, for the system itself, and for one another. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to sit in this chair for 4 years and to enjoy learning as I've served. And, time will show if I get to do it beyond November. But the point being, I'm grateful. And I wanted to express that at the end of this school year. Just personally very grateful for the opportunity to serve, to participate. And with that, Dr. Summers, D7 is your update.
So I did not prepare a formal presentation for this update, but I do want to just echo many of the same comments that have already been shared. So thank you to our board for your steadfast service and continued support as we've worked through we're on record with this being the most challenging year, at least in quite some time. I also want to thank the comments from our teachers this evening. We certainly have our work cut out for us in terms of not just talking about this, but figuring out a way forward. And we are committed to doing that. And as it was just echoed, it definitely is going to involve quite a bit of effort and research and creativity, innovation. But I think all the hallmarks that make our school district great, what it tells me is that we're capable of any challenge that comes our way. We're going to pursue that challenge, and we're going to find our way forward. Unfortunately, with all the pride that we have, it continues to be an Achilles heel. And so we need to work to rectify that. But it's been awesome to see the recognition that occurred this evening and all the recognition that we've had over the course of the year. I believe, and we did not have the opportunity to recognize another state champion, but we did have a state champion over the weekend from our Palmer Ridge High School girls tennis team. Mr. McCorkle, what's her name again? Tessa Rothwell, singles, number 2 singles state champion, so kudos. And kudos to all of our, very good, thank you,
Nice.
sir. Wanted to obviously shout out all of the great team awards as well as the individual efforts of, I believe, our Season D athletes. And I know when we're thinking Season D wrapping up here within a week or so, maybe, there's an end in sight, only to move right into the beginning of an exciting new school year ahead. And I think that's where I wanted to at least press pause on my comments for now, is that we're very excited about the upcoming school year and all of the great challenges and opportunities around the corner. And again, just want to echo all of the appreciation and gratitude that's already been shared. So thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Dr. Summers. Our next board item is Part E. This is to consider approve resolution for the energy performance contract with Schneider Electric Buildings America, Inc., a financing lease agreement with Sterling Bank, and related documents. And to do so, what I would like to do is make a motion to approve the authorizing resolution as presented and attached to the minutes of this meeting regarding the energy performance contract with Schneider Electric Buildings America, Inc., the equipment lease purchase agreement, the escrow agreement, and all other certificates and related documents to implement and carry out the transactions and other matters authorized by the resolution. Thank you. Any comments or questions?
I have one clarifying question, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but just to make sure, on Section 3, Supplemental Act Parameters, under Section 3C, it says the interest rate shall not exceed 2.497, provided that this limitation shall not apply to any increase, so on and so forth. Is that a flat rate, doesn't change? Okay.
Yes.
Teresa, any comments, questions?
No, I don't have any comments or questions on this.
Okay, thank you very much. Just one comment, I'm sure all the board would agree with this. Dr. Summers, great work. This is given the school district the ability to spend from our reserves 1.8 million, however, to achieve nearly 12 million in improvements. And so, good job.
Thank you.
Ms. Wood, would you call the roll on this motion?
Aye.
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 Thank you. The item E2, consider approved limited notice to proceed with Schneider Electric Buildings America, Inc. I will start this with a recommended motion here to approve the limited notice to proceed as presented and attached to the minutes of the meeting, authorizing Electric Buildings America, Inc. to begin work on security vestibules prior to the start of the new fiscal year on July 1, 2021. Comments, questions? Ms. Upchurch.
This is separate from the one we just voted on because this one is for the vestibules, is that correct?
And because it allows us to commence the work prior to July 1.
Okay.
But yes, the scope is limited to the security vestibule specifically.
And an early start date.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, Ms. Wood?
Aye.
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 The next item is E3. Consider approve receipt of BEST, which stands for Building Excellent Schools Today, grant funding from the Colorado Department of Education. And the motion is to approve the receipt of BEST grant funding and enter into a contract with the state for the purpose of performing the work set forth in the district's application. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
3 for 3.
Subchurch.
I actually appreciate the attached spreadsheet because it gives a good view of the ones that were approved this year and how much they received and what they're for. So I would encourage anybody who's watching to look and see what else has been approved throughout the state of Colorado. And it kind of gives an insight into BEST grant funding.
Excellent. This particular BEST grant is associated with the Lewis Palmer Middle School boiler, is that correct?
That is correct.
Perfect. Any other comments, questions? Teresa?
Yeah, was this in the amount that we anticipated would be?
You cut out. I don't know if it's my phone or yours.
Let me try again.
There, I hear you.
In the last work session, I remember there was an estimate about what the BEST grant might bring in. Was this on par with that estimate?
The last work session, there was an estimate of what the BEST grant might bring in. Is this equal to or on par with what the estimate was?
It's 141,474, which was our request amount. That is what we were granted, and our contribution is 330,106. So yes, I believe I quoted that around that same number. So that it is consistent, Ms. Phillips.
Okay, that's my recollection as well. I just wanted to make sure this isn't changing anything in the budget.
The last statement we missed, I'm sorry.
I was just clarifying that this was not altering the budget. We had talked about it during the working session.
Right, it's consistently presented in the budget.
Yes, and it's within the scope of the contract that we are entering into with Schneider.
Good questions. Teresa, anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wood?
Aye.
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 Thank you. The next item is E4, consider approve adoption and appropriation of school district budget for fiscal year 2021 to 2022 and related resolutions. Let me make the motions. There's 2 motions to be made. I'm going to do one at a time. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's correct.
So, for me, Mr. Taylor, it'd be helpful to see which of these 2 motions you recommend and why.
Are they?
Well, no, they're different. They're not alternatives. We need to do both. That was my only confusion, is they're different. They're not one or the other. We're good. Yep.
This is about approving the budget for next school year.
It is, and again, we didn't use this word here, and I'm not going to read this word, but we have, essentially moved to a flexible budgeting process. So we're approving this budget as it stands today, but we don't know what the total top-line revenue is until October. So we will have a final approval of this budget sometime after October headcount. But we have been monitoring its development, and so that's what we're asking for today. So motion number 1 is, be it resolved by the Board of Education of Lewis Palmer School District 38 in El Paso County, State of Colorado, in accordance with CRS 22-44-105, that the 2021-2022 annual budget be adopted, and that the amounts shown in the resolution attached to the minutes of this meeting be appropriated to each fund as specified in the adopted budget for the ensuing fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022. I've made my one comment, and that is about the flexible budget. So this is a preliminary approval, but the final approval will be after we get the head count. Any other comments or questions?
Looking at me. No, actually, you already addressed what I was going to ask. You already did it.
Ron?
Yeah, I think the one thing that, for those listening in and the public to keep in mind is we've gone through this about 4 or 5 times in board meetings and significant detail in private sessions with the financial team. And there's a contribution by the board of reserves to ensure that we're making up for lost time in terms of very significant needed maintenance, as well as accelerating things through the Schneider Electric contract. So in addition to what you see in front of you, there's really been hours and hours and hours of background work and significant diligence on the part of the administrative team to make sure that we have this as dialed in as we can. And so the board doesn't take it lightly when we take a look at this, up to and including our labor costs.
Just a point of clarity. The first motion is on the operating budget, which we're not borrowing anything from reserves. The next motion
is, okay, we've split that in 2.
Yes.
My apologies.
No problem.
There's also a corresponding resolution of appropriation of funds, which is the specific item that motion 1 is related to. So if you look at that attachment, it will give you a review of where we are with each of our funds, the appropriation amount, including expenditures plus appropriated reserves. The second motion, I don't want to confuse this, but gives us flexibility should we need to borrow unencumbered money, which typically we are not in that situation. However, it gives us the ability to be able to do so in the event that we are running low on cash. And I just want to make sure that those 2 are standard motions for every budget approval process. The first is really your approval of the adopted budget and the related appropriations.
Any other comments on motion 1?
No.
Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Great. Now, our second motion. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of Lewis Palmer School District 38 authorizes the superintendent and or his designee to borrow available unencumbered cash balances in the capital reserve, insurance reserve, building reserve, and nutritional services funds in accordance with CRS 22-14-113 to be used to fund short-term cash needs in the district during fiscal year 21-22, and be it further resolved that funding for incomplete capital reserve projects be carried forward to fiscal year 21-22. So I've asked this question 2 or 3 times over the last few years, and the easiest answer that I've ever been given is that this is sort of just, we have a cutoff on June 30th. But we have projects, most of these capital projects are all summer long, and in fact, we just approved the early start on the vestibules, right? And so there's going to be funding necessary to do that. And so what this does is it basically bridges between one fiscal year and the next. And it allows the school district to utilize funds from these various reserves to cover those capital expenditures.
And then do we have a mechanism to return the funds into reserves once they're provided by the state?
It's full circle, yes. It's short term.
Once our cash flow in that cycle restores, then we transfer it right back. So it's just like we're borrowing from one.
It's an internal swing loan.
Yes.
That's a really
That's, you've been.
internal swings. Ron, can you say that? I need to hear it one more time. Internal
Swing loan.
swing loan, yeah, I like
Mr.
that.
Phillips is a business owner. He knows exactly what it is.
All right, any other questions or comments around this resolution? Hearing none? Ms. Wood? Oh, I thought there was, but there is for sure now. Matt?
Aye.
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 Our next item is E5, Financial Planning and Analysis. Here, Dr. Summers and Ms. Shauna Seeley will be available to answer any questions of the standard presentation.
Ms. Seeley, do you hear us? Oh, but the mic's not on. Can you say that again?
I do hear you.
Okay, we hear you too.
Okay,
Welcome back.
thank you.
We're on item E5.
All right, so the FP&A. There is one thing that I wanted to make sure and point out to everyone as you look at the monthly board budget actual report for the year. You are going to see that the funds 74 and 75 actually show all zeros for actuals. And that is a change due to GASB 84. And all of those funds are now moved over to Fund 23, which is how it's been budgeted for the upcoming year as well. But I just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out for you all so that there was no confusion on that. And that was a directive given to us by the auditors at the end of this past year's audit, that this GASB 84 was going into effect for the 2021 year. So we are in full compliance with that prior to the fiscal year end.
Any comments or questions? Anyone? We recall that conversation, by the way, Shauna, about
Okay,
the change in GASB.
Good. Were there any other questions about the FP&A section?
Well, I only have one, and that's, don't we have a student count? Oh, wait, it's June, isn't it?
You know, that is a great question. You're right, it's not on here, is it?
No, but that's okay, because we only have summer school now, right?
That would be my
we're good.
guess, yes.
Yeah, we're
Sorry,
good.
I mean, my, Michigan just got out last Friday, so I think we go a little bit longer here than in Colorado. But it's hard for me to remember back and forth.
Any comments or questions from anyone? Teresa? Hearing none, thank you, Ms. Seeley. We appreciate your support again.
Great, thank you guys. Have a great night.
Shanna, this might be the last time I'm calling you
All
during a board
right.
meeting. So congratulations.
Thanks. Well, I am here to help Kitty in any way that I can if she so needs, but she's going to be awesome. I'm excited for you guys.
Thanks, Shanna. Be well.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you, Shanna.
So item E6, consider approved second reading resolution for the Grace Best Facility Master Plan. I'd make the motion to approve the resolution regarding proceeding with Phase 2 of the Grace Best Facility Master Plan project as presented. Questions? Comments?
Just
I'll
again,
just add one comment. If I
Go ahead, Teresa.
that we specified under current programming transition HSE robotics. Boards would look back at this resolution, remember the specific programs that are currently in that this site.
I wasn't clear on that statement. I'm sorry.
I think I can summarize because this was a edit that was made from the original edits that were suggested last special meeting. So I think Ms. Phillips just wanted to call attention to the fact that we specified the programs, the current programming that's currently occurring in number 2. So when it says, formulate a plan to demolish the oldest portion of the building and fully remodel the remaining portion of the building to meet the needs of future district programs while maintaining current programming to include transitions, HSEA, robotics, and maximizing future flexibility. I think she just wanted to call attention to that addition.
Is that right, Teresa?
That is correct. And the second point you need to elaborate on as well is that this that in addition, the spring keys, one of the on flex space was recognizing the commitment to CTE as they work forward in the future as well.
I can elaborate on that one.
Thank you.
And Teresa, please correct me if I'm wrong. Drawing attention to the committee had talked about that there's no mention of CTE in this, and the committee, we talked about CTE in the flex space. Did I get that right?
Yes, I believe so, although I'm having a little trouble hearing.
So just making sure that we're noting that that was one of the preferred options, but not necessarily indicating through this resolution that that is the
Choice.
place that we're going to land.
Right.
So we're calling out that there's a perhaps prioritized list of flexible program needs. However, we're not at that point within the scope of this current resolution as it's drafted. Teresa, is that?
That's correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Thank you.
Hearing none, Ms. Wood?
Aye.
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 I'd like to make a motion to declare the board's intention to participate in the general election on November 2nd, 2021, to appoint Vicki Wood as the district's designated election official for this election, and to direct Ms. Wood to notify the county clerk and recorder of the board's intentions to appear on the ballot. Comments, questions?
I have a question. Since I will be running again, is it in conflict of interest to have my name on this resolution? I don't know if it is or not. But
No, it is not, because you are an elected official insofar as you're finishing out the remainder of your term through the date that you'll continue to be in that term. So,
okay.
not at all. You are acting in your official capacity as one of 5 board members.
Other comments or questions? Hearing none, Ms. Wood?
Aye.
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 Next item is E8. Consider, approve, call for nominations for school directors for November 2nd, 2021 election. The motion is to approve the call for nominations for the November 2nd, 2021 school director election and placement of a paid ad seeking candidates as presented. Comments or questions?
Question. How many signatures does a candidate need to be eligible to run?
I believe it's 50.
All right.
At least 50 eligible electors who are registered to vote in the regular biennial school election in accordance with law.
Oh, 50 is it? I thought that, okay.
I'm reading that straight from the call for nomination.
More, in case they're disqualified for any reason.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
The deadline, 4 p.m. on August 27th, 2021.
The deadline to submit.
Deadline to submit.
When can applications be picked up?
Weekly August 1.
August 4. And then they're due August
27th.
27th. Okay. Other comments, questions? Ms. Wood?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Item E9, Board of Education calendar dates for 2021-2022. The motion is to approve the schedule for meetings of the Lewis Palmer Board of Education for the school year 2021 and 2022 as presented. Comments, questions? Hearing none, Ms. Wood?
Aye.
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 E10. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Questions, comments?
One question. Oh, never mind, I don't have a question. Sorry. It was on the district calendar revision, but I don't.
Oh, we were ready to answer that. If you want me to answer that, I'm all dialed in and ready. We did have a day off originally landing on October 1. And obviously, that being an official count day, we did not want to create any sort of complicating variables for that count day. So we
Right.
moved the work day, I should say specifically it's a work day, not an off day for teachers, but I believe it's for elementary school teachers to have their work day now slated for Monday, October 4th. So the students may enjoy a 3-day weekend after being officially counted on October 4th. And
Great
because that's the only revision we're making, that we just wanted to call your attention to that.
And last year, as I recall, didn't we talk about a 2-year trend here, a 2-year swing? And this is year 2 of that?
This is year 2. We envision launching or relaunching a calendar committee as we're going into fall of school year 21-22. So excited about what those potential changes may be in the future.
Excellent. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Aye.
Well, I guess we'll just call this meeting, adjourn this meeting until we meet again in August.